in St. Petersburg? Because we love that in America. That's part of the American culture.
Yes, it is. And right in the center of a city of 5 million, I have a 15-year-old niece who's very pretty, who comes to visit us about once a week in the evenings and walks home after that by herself. Whoa. And that's considered perfectly normal. It's a perfectly safe place.
This is very important. I mean, we need to take a break from this politics that's going on, especially with this, how this economy is going. And when shit hits the fan, getting laid is going to be the last thing on people's minds.
Salute to Louis Conyer, the second voice that you heard, a gentleman who served America in the military and brings very interesting and thoughtful views to the discourse that we're having in this space. He introduced this particular video, and the gentleman here on the right is someone who lives in Russia. But he speaks to something that many guys, especially passport bros that have a chance to live overseas for a little while, notice, and it is the importance of community.
Well, Russia is all about survival. Russians live in a climate that most other nations would not even consider inhabiting. In many Russian regions, the average January temperature is around -20, -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's much too cold for a lot of people. The agriculture in Russia is sometimes good and sometimes terrible. There are failed harvests that occur relatively regularly.
If you've been following the news, you'd know that in the last year or so, the Japanese yen is taking a pummeling, and it's not a very good time for people that are importing things into Japan. Of course, it's great for people exporting, but most people are not exporting themselves, they're living in the country. And so foods that they would have previously eaten or things that they would have previously bought, they have to budget or they have to find a way around things that they would have been doing because, simply put, the prices have just gotten a bit too high for a lot of people. One of the things I've come to really respect about the Japanese people is that they're not big complainers. Of course, there's some people that have sticker shock when they go into the store, or they lament maybe privately or with their family that they can't eat the things that they used to or do the things that they used to because it's more expensive. But one of the things that the Japanese people really excel at is being inventive, being creative, as you can see in this recipe where someone has taken a cup of ramen and turns it into a delicious plate of fried rice. This is a nori bin, which could be bought for about $1.50, $2 US, and it's another example of how Japan does frugality. Underneath the seaweed would be some seasonings for the rice, and on top of the seaweed is a slab of fried fish. There's a stick of fish paste that has been deep fried. You have some pickles, and then you have some stir-fried carrots and burdock root, which will fill your stomach. It's healthy, and it can be had for a very small amount of money. But moreover, it is a representation of the fact that we appreciate the fact that we can get full off of something that is healthy, and it doesn't have to be ornate, just modest. Because if you can appreciate modesty, then you can appreciate when times are good, because you can't always expect times to be good.
In many Russian regions, the average January temperature is around -20, -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's much too cold for a lot of people. The agriculture in Russia is sometimes good and sometimes terrible. There are failed harvests that occur relatively regularly. And in general, it is a place that has a lot of resources, but they're rather diffuse, and the distances are absolutely huge. So given all of that, it is not a place where humans can survive without helping each other.
I remember the first time I walked by one of these vegetable stands. As an American, I was a bit in disbelief. As you can see, there are vegetables there. There is a place to pay the money, but there is no receptionist there. There's no clerk there. It is just 100% on the honor principle. So any one person can come by and either A, steal all of the vegetables without paying, or B, steal all the money that's collected from people paying for the vegetables and take the money, But in a community, you don't have to worry about either of those things, because every person that goes to that stand understands someone went through a lot of trouble to make sure that the stand is here. And so the best way to make sure that you can keep using the stand is to be honorable, to be part of a community where you give and you take, where someone needs something and someone gives something.
In Russia, help is mandatory. You cannot turn down somebody who needs help. You can't leave people on the street. You cannot disregard people who are hungry or who have been hurt or anything like that. That is just not part of the makeup. So the United States is really fragile in the sense of it needs a prosperous economy just to survive, whereas Russia will survive no matter what happens. Even if there is no economy, people will still find a way to sustain each other.
People don't tell women the truth these days. Men get told the truth all the time. Women have no problem telling a man, I don't want an average man. It happens every day on my show. TLC said they don't want no scrubs, and we have no problem telling average men, you ain't crap. But if I just happen to have the nerve to agree with the woman that says she's average, then I'm Satan. I think that's interesting.
We can all remember the lightning rod that Kevin Samuels was and the energy he brought to the Black community conversation. But what can't be denied is that he cared about the future of the Black community, because otherwise, if he didn't do what he was trying to do, it would be further along than it is now in a growing group of guys that are passport bros that are looking overseas, or guys that are SYSBM that are dating in different patterns than historically so. But if you're going to have a community, you have to have people giving each other things that they want or need, as you saw with the vegetables stand in Japan, or you heard with the gentleman talking about Russia. And instead, what he revealed is that there is just not the environment for a community. Now, the next video I'm going to show you has some N-words in it, and I know that there are some guys that don't like my videos when they have that in it, but I think it's important, it's apropos to this conversation. So if you have issues with it, I suggest you just don't watch the next part of the video. But it shows the underlying climate as to why the community that we're seeing in other places that are going to get them through the hard times may not be there for us.
Kevin Samuels died, and his fans are still broken up and crying. His arteries still in. I guess the bill can get him in. Oh, maybe it was a Red Bull that he guzzled down during every live stream. It was probably both. He was a joke who died and embarrassed, million in death row. His fans are the ashiest niggas, blaming black girls for the fault of their hands. Come on, nigga, please, are you kidding me? Go get your passport and just go trick on the road.
As more guys have the opportunity to go overseas and witness certain kinds of communities that find ways to get through the difficult times, one thing that they come to understand is that if they're going to have a family or even kids in the future, is that their kids are going to eventually be competing against said communities and kids coming from them. And the only way your kid can compete against a community like this is to be a part of a community like this and not always have to fend for themselves, because times will get difficult. And when they do get difficult, do they have other people looking out for them, or is it just every man for themselves? Because quite simply, if the Black community can't have Black men say, I would like A, B, and C in a woman, and that conversation facilitates something that's healthy dialogue, then you're going to get the celebration of what happened after Kevin Samuels, and you just get a drifting apart of what used to be the Black community. It's unfortunate that things are what they are, but this is life, and we have to accept the world as it is. And the world that is one where community will win. The question just becomes, do Black men find communities to integrate into, or do they try and find a way to fix a community that doesn't really care what they want? in a mate. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you next video. Take care, guys.